Welcome back. Now, market picture has certainly been weird over the last couple of days. And of course, South Africa experiencing that public holiday. So it does mean that markets locally aren't necessarily open. But a lot to really write home about on the international front. China has gotten their industrial output, and that figure going up quite a lot, actually, and doing better than analysts had expected, showing that indeed there could be a recovery in that Asian market, and particularly in China, the second biggest economy in the world. But there was a bit of nervous trading out in Asia this morning, despite Japan and Singapore both having public holidays of their own as well on that front. But China managing to tick up, even though there was some nervous trading. A lot of that nervous trading comes because of the tension between the United States and China. Now, that, of course, stems from that decision then just last week by President Donald Trump then to decide that he would put a 45-day moratorium on the sale there is on TikTok, of course, then, as well as WeChat. Now, the WeChat saga, of course, affects South Africa quite prodigiously. How so? Well, WeChat is owned by a company called Tencent, which, of course, South Africa's Naspers has a near 30% stake in. If Naspers gets a hit because of Tencent, you can imagine what happens then to the JSE All Share, which managed to fall off last week and indeed is most likely to fall off again tomorrow when markets kick back into opening here on the local front. But overall, Chinese and Asian trade certainly not sitting in good territory, unfortunately, by the end of trade early this morning. Even the European counters taking their cue then from the negativity that you can certainly see falling through from the markets on that front. A lot of questions being asked with the increased number of COVID-19 cases, just how stimulus is perhaps going to plow back into the world's economy. More questions still also being asked of U.S. Senate Democrats as well as lawmakers out in the United States as to whether they'll be able to push through a deal that will help in terms of recovering that economy. Of course, we saw a massive amount of jobs coming back into the U.S. economy, should I say, bringing that unemployment rate down back to 10.2%, a lot better than expected initially as well then, which does mean that there is some sort of recovery. Whether it will be gradual or continued and robust over a large period of time is yet to be seen, though, and that is the big question that the market still awaits. So many questions around that, as well as on the local front then, the big question has become the price of gold, which has continued to climb. Of course, $2,029 a fine ounce for that price. It does mean that the gold shares themselves have certainly gone higher, but what it does beg to differ, however, or rather creates an issue with regards to the platinum counters then as well. Now, platinum companies have unfortunately cut back when it comes to their investment in South Africa's markets and in South Africa as a whole, and not trusting perhaps things like policy. We've got electricity shortages as well as power shortages and water shortages, which have certainly not helped. And that has meant that the likes of Implats and Amplats have held back on just how much money they're going to put into South Africa's economy. But that means that we could see a fall in an industry that has also become the bedrock of South Africa over the last number of years. How so? Well, we've had platinum go back into catalytic converters for vehicles, but with the demand slacking off globally and production going through into the lower doldrums, unfortunately, it means that the rest of the world has had to find other means and other ways, which means that they're now using the electric vehicles, which means less demand then for catalytic converters, meaning less demand for platinum. In South Africa, where 170,000 odd people are hired or do work in that sector, it does mean that it could hurt quite extensively as well. So overall then, just a quick look, the gold price so far going down just 0.25% there, still sitting above $2,000 a fine ounce there. It looks like it's likely to stay there because of the uncertainty across the global market as well. Then platinum price there, that goes up 1.33% then today, so a better picture for it on that front. The oil price there also sitting slightly higher. As we said, the OPEC nations seem to be coming to some sort of agreement when it comes to that supply cut issue, which continues to flout them there. So $44.81 a barrel on that front. Taking a look at the U.S. market, just last week was a sense of positivity. The Dow Jones Industrial continuing that momentum as well. The first three counters out in Europe also all going into some positive territory. So a net gain of 22 points, 27 points, and 25 points means that they're all doing fairly well when one takes a look at how they're faring right now on that front. Also then, if you continue to check in, of course, right at the top here into the currencies, the euro rand there at the top, 20 rand and 86 cents for a euro. It's 23 rand and 14 or 13 cents against the British pound. Weakness for South Africa, 17 rand and 76 cents then as well for the rand against the US dollar. So indeed, some weakness there. The rand slipping to around 2-month lows hurt a lot then by global sentiment. More COVID-19 cases, but some interesting facets here to put together. As I noted a little bit earlier, 198 new deaths when it comes to COVID-19. Now, it is horrible, of course, to even have that number where South African deaths continue to climb, but it does seem as though things are beginning to dip or plateau at the very least at this stage. We're seeing 6,670 cases of COVID-19 for South Africa in the past 24-hour cycle. That's the best figure in a week, in figures that have continuously not necessarily surpassed 10,000 cases as well. Are we beginning to see a change when it comes to the number of infections? More people perhaps being aware, perhaps antibodies even being created across many bodies as well in the country. Does that mean, though, we are able to perhaps create ease in terms of the lockdown restrictions? How much more can we open up South Africa's economy? One can certainly say that we've lost billions, not just with the alcohol and cigarette ban, but general market sensitivity and just how things are faring. The vehicle sector is fearful that they may not be able to get back to where they were pre-COVID-19. Airlines have continued to struggle because tourism may not necessarily get back up. Businesses are continuing to, of course, use video channels as well, which may mean that that continues even after COVID-19, which means business travel begins to diminish as well. We're in a completely different world at this stage. How things fare from here will be interesting and we'll be keen to see.